Hello everybody, it's been a hot minute, but we're back to continue our ranking of the Elden Ring boss difficulty. Last time we covered the NPC boss pushovers, a dangerous sorceress, an aggressive danger noodle, and an uncomfortable amount of Maxwell references. So, how does the rest of the game's bosses hold up by comparison? Just how far will we go in pursuit of the hardest boss? Let's find out with number 14, the Valiant Gargoyles. It can't be. A gank boss in a FromSoft game, or more specifically in Elden Ring, and it's bad? What an inconceivable idea. Oh wait, no it's not. Sadly, Valiant Gargoyles is the embodiment of Elden Ring's biggest boss design flaw. Why don't we add another guy in there? The regular Gargoyle mini-boss enemy, the Blackblade Kindred, are very tough by themselves. The Valiant Gargoyles live up to that reputation and then some. Their attacks aren't particularly troublesome to me. I'd seen them plenty of times throughout the game, and I didn't see any new moves to their respective weapons during my single attempt at fighting them. Admittedly, the Gargoyles can swap between one of two weapons each, meaning you'll need to adapt on the fly to whatever arsenal they bring to you, but you should have decent experience by this point, enough to overcome the surprise of the switch. One thing I did notice, at least in the single time I fought this boss, because I'm not doing so again unless I have to for the sake of the world, the gargoyle that you're not actively fighting is actually pretty passive, relatively at least, letting you focus one at a time fairly easily as long as you keep an eye out in your peripheral vision for when his buddy actually decides to do something. The only reason I died on my first attempt is this poison cloud that they spread throughout the arena. Now this is dangerous. None of this Dark Souls 3 Fahrenheit minor inconvenience poison. This is advanced poison. That being said, if you bring any curing items or spells, or just avoid the attack altogether given the large arena, these bosses make for a decently challenging gank. For a final point, this boss is completely optional. No story or side quest beats are hidden behind them, or at least nothing of significance. So feel free to come back at level 120 and smoke them. They deserve nothing less. Number 13, Godskin Noble. This has to be the most hilarious and terrifying boss in the game, or at least he was for the 10 minutes or so that I fought him. I first found this boss on a bridge as a non-boss encounter, and it was a tough fight, and I later found and fought the boss variant on two different characters, so I've had a fair bit of experience fighting this guy by himself. Long story short, he big, and the big is what makes him brutal. This boss is deceptively quick, attacking with black fire like his apostle counterpart, and then he fights like Weiss from Ruby, quick rapier thrusts with deceptive distance covering to keep you on your toes. In phase 2, the man flexes his girth, and then, holy shit, what is he doing? Why is he rolling sideways on his stomach towards me? Holy crap! Okay, I'm calm. I'm calm. This attack is hilarious, terrifying, and brutal. He gets multiple hits out of it, so be careful he doesn't stun lock you into being steamrolled. The other moves he gets are just variations on previously existing attacks, plus a tremendous ass crash. In his proper boss encounter, there are certain pillars you can use to interrupt his "they see me rolling" attack, if you can manage to get him stuck on them for a time. And from that point on, until he uses the attack again, it's just a more normal duel. Just so happens that that duel is a difficult one. Number 12, Lichdragon Fortissax. Okay, describing this guy is going to be a little hard. Most of the fights I've had with him are basically lightning on top of me, lightning on top of me, claw swipe, lightning on top of me, oh he's flying now, lightning on top of me, lightning on top of me, oh. Well, he's dead now. Or I am. Commenting on something like that is tricky, because I honestly remember none of the mechanics in depth, besides the fact that he uses lightning on top of me. A lot. He summons lightning all around him, or summons it to strike directly on top of you with little warning. He has melee attacks and he can fly, but it's hard to see beyond all the flashes of red on my screen at all times. Despite this, I beat him within 3 tries on both characters. Lots of spam rolling, lots of greedy rage-fueled attacks, but that was enough to carry me through. I didn't save him for last or anything on either run. I feel I was at a reasonable level, so the fact that my monkey brain strategy worked means that he's more forgiving than most bosses. He's chaotic and demanding, but nothing to break your controller over. Number 11, Commander Niall. Ah, so you wanted to get to the Helig Tree. Well, first of all, why? Second of all, no. Captain McBullshit Summons and one hit kill high damage fuck you is here to ruin the party. Earlier in the game, you can fight Commander O'Neill in Brazil, Caelid, and I find him rather tough thanks to his tanky summons and my tendency to reach Caelid early in the game. Much later on, we get to see his true form. Well, him and his friends with benefits. Right as you enter the arena, he summons 2 Spirit Warriors, one with dual swords, and one with a shielded sword. If either of these two get you in a combo streak, you lose. Their damage is nuts, and they inflict frostbite, which makes you take even more damage. My strategy is to melt the sword wielder via weapon art or jumping R2 the second I get into the arena, and whittle down the shield wielder once I've gotten some distance between Niall and his underling. Once they're gone, Niall gets serious. He summons the Wrath of Lightning and promptly wraths all over your body. His attacks are brutal. He leaps into the air and slams his weapon down with tremendous force. He wields a cunning back hit to take advantage of the traditional dodge into the attack and punish strategy. His peg leg hits with large lightning blasts, and he has super wide AoE attacks that also inflict frostbite. Okay, this is all sounding pretty good, nice diverse moveset. What's the catch, given my negative assertion of him earlier? Easy. He's past Morgott. His damage is stupid. Every attack will lead to a 2-shot unless you're more tanky than the American military. His attacks are fairly predictable once you know what you're seeing, it's just one slip up can lead to your demise, and the summons make the first 20 seconds a crapshoot. With a girthy health bar on the side, good luck chopping this man down. Number 10, Starscourge Radahn. Now moving from irritating boss mediocrity to an absolute god among chads. Starscourge Radahn is one of 2 bosses that could get my vote for best in the game, and goddamn does he earn that title. As you would expect, alongside his quality comes appropriate difficulty. When you teleport into his arena, he's all the way over there. Huh, didn't know we had to do a boss run in the middle of a boss fight. Not that he's going to let you, of course. He'll fire arrows at you in 2 varieties, powerful single gravity shots or arrow rains in closer distances that somehow track. This can be tricky to avoid, my suggestion being the utilization of torrent and rolling iframes in combinations to close the distance. Of course, that's the easy part. Once you're up close, Radahn uses his tiny horse to surf across the desert sand while his twin blades are swung with brutal force. Slashes and slams, any and all ways to kill you are what he'll use. He has quite quick turning speed as well, so don't think you can run circles around this man to be safe. He also throws in some magic, but I'll expand more on that in a little bit. Phase 2 begins, and he leaves. Well, I guess the battle's over. Thank you for taking part, everybody. I'll be seeing you later. Oh my god, he's a meteor! That's so damn awesome! Once you've dodged the massive meteor strike, Radahn breaks out his true gravity magic. Tracking gravity orbs, AoE attacks, the ability to suck you closer prior to powerful attacks, it's a dangerous escalation that builds on his already existing moveset with a new element of damage, and many more dangerous options for his ranged attacks, lightning waves and more AoEs. He's got flying charges, albeit not quite as celestial as the first time around. Radahn is sheer power, harnessed through an unpredictable and chaotic moveset, and I love him for it. You can summon several allies as well to take him down as well, like a real raid boss, but I prefer fighting solo. You can also jump on and off of torrent during this fight, turning it into a battle of jousting. Whatever way you take him on, you'd better be very sure before you warp into the arena. Legends are legends for a reason. Number 9, Hoarah-Loux, Warrior. It's testament to Miyazaki's design greatness that so many of the game's hardest bosses are also among the best in the game. Even more impressive, considering the first half of this boss is a reskin of sorts. Remember the Phantom Menace? Well, now he's the Tangible Menace, and he is about as strong as you'd expect, given his reputation as the first Elden Lord. He does everything the first Godfrey did, but a little bit more. His quakes now have multiple stages, his axe comes at you in more ways, and of course, everything hits harder now. However, it feels just as fair as it did before, the only problem being stuck too close to one of his quake attacks and screwing up the iframing. Not too much to comment on here, seeing as this part of the battle is just about using the practice you've gotten in already, and playing the game properly when it comes to a humanoid enemy. However, just as you might be feeling slightly disappointed in this notorious boss being a near reskin, he reaches up to give his lion's stand a pet. And then he kills it, and shreds his shirt, and goes by another name, and is now very, very intimidating. This WWE star has a completely new moveset, focusing on punches, kicks, headbutts, and devastating grab attacks leading to brutal slams. These really resulted in my death directly, but consistently got me close, and he follows up fast enough to finish the job. He keeps a powerful quick attack where he pulls the earth apart, but it's mainly about catching these hands. Or rather, these hands catching you. Avoiding these is troublesome because sometimes it's hard to tell when the attack point for the grab has actually executed. Plus, his tells are anything but conventional. Because this moveset is only in the second half of the fight, with half the health for him to survive on, you could end this battle rather quickly with the right weapon and correct dodge timings, meaning the battle is a very skill dependent dance on who gets dominated. Whatever the case, reaching the level where it's you doing the dominating is a harsh journey that you'll only reach with a lot of practice. And, because of Hoarah-Loux's outstanding quality, I was smiling the entire time. Number 8, Morgott the Omen King. The often mentioned, twice imitated, Omen King. I've mentioned this guy as the last point in the game before the damage gets scaled up to the point of absurdity, yet he's higher than many of the bosses in that post-Morgott category. Why? Let me explain. Morgott is an incredible fight and has fair and fun difficulty for one reason. He doesn't hit absurdly hard, he hits in absurdly varied ways. He has so many moves. He starts the fight with a sword instead of a cane. He wields the magic hammer and sword as seen in the Morgott fight. He keeps the daggers. He can summon dozens of swords from the sky in a Gate of Babylon-esque attack. And of course, his combos are immense. Seriously, he'll hit you with like 5 moves, dodge before you can react, and begin another multi-hit combo within the same 2 seconds. The sheer number of attacks this man has is intimidating. Learning them all takes a long time and a lot of practice. He has familiar moves with unfamiliar twists on them, as well as a whole bunch of new tricks with very fair balance and damage for the midway point of the game. The second phase adds bleed damage to his attacks, even more moves including a ruthless grab, and the arena erupting at you with such force that it hurts you. And, because you've been stunned, guess who's about to unleash a 17-piece combo all on your getting off the ground ass. Morgott is seriously intense, but he's a quick reacting 1v1 warrior boss, my favourite kind, and overcoming his challenge left me grinning. Number 7, Fire Giant. On a completely different tone, fuck this fat ass, fat rolling, fat health bar having ginger bastard. This boss is... no. I do not like it. Take the amount of kgs that Godskin Noble must weigh in his phase 2. Translate that number to a health bar. You've got this guy's HP. And then you can take about 75% of that and apply it to his attack power, because post-Morgott Elden Ring accidentally added an extra 0 to every move's damage number. Move is appropriate, because his most devastating attack is a frigging fat roll, right on top of you. And it'll kill you. Does it make sense? Yes. Do I hate it? Yes. This attack comes with almost no tell, and with almost no chance of avoiding it if you're in close, which you kind of have to be to deal damage as a melee-focused build. The Fire Giant whips around a giant plate and uses it to attack you by making damaging earth waves or crushing you beneath it. He summons tracking fireballs that explode with a large blast when in a certain proximity to you. He stomps down, he fights like you'd expect a Fire Giant too, and with enough damage to wipe out a small third world country. The 2 saving graces you have in this fight are as follows. 1. You have Torrent, and his mobility is crucial to avoiding those devastating attacks. Just make sure to try keep him alive, or that's more flasks you're wasting. The second is that you have the Fire Giant's ankle, and that is his weak point. Smack it enough and get a lovely chunk of damage off that health bar. However, when he gets below half health, he opens his eyes to new perspectives, like the one coming out of his chest. Credit where credit is due, incredible visual design, and this is an awesome transitory cutscene. Hatred where hatred is due, this phase is even worse. The Fire Giant tears off his leg to remove that weak point and begins using fire with far more reckless abandon. More tracking orbs, downwards fire breath, shooting fire into the sky to cause a rain of death, and all of it is guaranteed to kill you in 2 to 3 hits at most. He apparently has weak spots in his wrists for you to hit, but I find that more difficult than it's worth honestly, because it leads to my death via an attack I didn't see coming. If the Fire Giant hit less hard, I'd hate it less. But as it stands, he's a titanic and unbearable roadblock to the excellent final act of Elden Ring and the bosses within, and it'll take a long time for me to master this fight. Number 6, Mohg, the Lord of Blood. This boss is one that I have an interesting history with. He killed me at least 40 times on my first playthrough. I hated him, more than anything, more than the fire giant. In my second playthrough, however, I beat him in 6 tries, and he was a fun fight. Not to get personal, but I think that was mainly due to the real life situation I was in at the time, because when I faced him again, albeit using a different weapon, I had left a super draining job and was in a much better mental headspace, and I found that I liked the fight a lot more, and I found him a lot easier. Mohg is a powerful blood sorcerer, throwing blood flame in wide waves or narrow shots, or from the sky directly above him. Getting hit by or standing on the lingering aftereffects of this blood flame will add to your bleed meter, and over the course of the fight it's going to end up coating over half the arena, so positioning ends up being a very real element of this battle. Mohg also has a trident with the range you'd expect, but certain moves of his have notable tells that signal openings. Dodge at the right time into him and he gives you a guaranteed window to get in a few hits. No cheap dodge away move here. Mohg's melee design is excellent, very fair and no bullshit attacks. One thing he does do is periodically speak a Latin number and place a red ring around you. He does this 3 times. Tres, duo, and unos. Okay, is he trying to teach us preschool mathematics? Nope, he's using those rings to build up to a devastating attack that steals our health via hemorrhaging and adds it to his own total. Sneaky bastard. There's no way to negate this attack happening, so you need to time your heals between his damage bursts. If you thoroughly explore the overworld, you can find a crystal for the Vial of Wondrous Physic that grants temporary immunity to the damage of this attack, though Mohg will still heal. After this, Phase 2 is here, and it's wild. Many of Mohg's attacks remain the same, but he also has gigantic wings now, adding in new charging combos from the sky, like a Reaper of Death fused with Poseidon. It's very cool, but if you can maintain calm and focus and manage your positioning, nothing Mohg does is particularly enigmatic. Every attack is learnable, every attack has a viable dodge, it's just a matter of executing it. His health bar is fairly sized, given his healing partway through, and he does stagger and bleed, so you'll have plenty of ways to even the odds. Thanks for the duel, Mohg, you creepy fuckbucket. Number 5, Dragonlord Placidusax. The dragons of the lands between once worshipped a god of their own, and, as if they took offense at my dismissal of Aegir last episode and prayed for revenge, that dragon god must have sent Dragonlord Placidusax to punish me, because heck darn, this boss is a tough battle. Set in a beautiful arena amidst thunderous weather, Dragonlord Placidusax is a contender for the hardest dragon boss in the series, though he and Medea are very different in terms of how they fight. Placidusax, given his lack of functional legs, is quite a stationary target, moving slowly. You could run circles around him before he deigns to switch positions. He makes up for this with very powerful attacks that are delivered quickly after long wind-ups. He can summon lightning on top of you, though far less obnoxiously than Fortissax. He imbues his claws with lightning if you stand in front of him, he breathes fire to the sides and behind him to take care of booty smackers. He even has a damn awesome AoE attack where he slams a lightning sword into the ground, devastating you if you're within Bluetooth connectivity distance of him, even cutting out the background music temporarily. Iframing it is something I've never cared to even try, I've just run for the hills every time. However, in Phase 2, the stationary target takes flight and incorporates charge attacks from the sky a la DMC5 Virgil. He'll teleport into place, disabling your lock-on, then use those lightning claws to carve a path of death. Dodging these is easy if you can accurately judge your own positioning and the direction he's going, but with everything going on, you'd be forgiven for mistiming it. Most deadly of all is his new super move. His 2 heads breathe fire, par for the course, and then the fire turns into lasers that are basically guaranteed to one-shot you if they hit. In my case, they hit every time. I didn't see the attack too often, but whenever I did, it was at the end of my fight. I tried to dodge, but the horizontal sweep of the lasers happens too quick for me to react to it with a jump, and I get clipped. I don't think this is bad design, there's obviously ways to avoid the lasers, I'm just really bad at reacting to the move. To cap it off, he teleports on the ground a lot now, and he teleports straight into attacks. You've got a tiny window to react to the attack before it arrives, and that's if you can keep track of him in the first place because, like I said, he's teleporting, disabling your lock-on. And of course, this would all be much easier to deal with if his health bar wasn't as big as the Godskin Noble's BMI. Dragonlord Placidusax is the purest form of an endurance fight that Elden Ring has to offer, and it will remain challenging through every minute of the long battle. Number 4, Maliketh the Black Blade. The easiest way to sum up Maliketh is as a glass cannon, but before we even get to that, we've got this other man to take down. The Beast Clergyman is a boss that mainly uses quick dagger swipes and earth magic, firing beast claws at you from the front or in an omnidirectional attack signaled by a quake. His combos are fairly simple, and the beast claw timings, once you've learnt them, make for easily avoidable blows via rolling or jumping. However, getting to the point where I can say that took a lot of deaths. Learning the timings and tells of this man took more attempts than I could count on my 2 hands' fingers before I could say I was truly confident in this part of the fight. And, of course, that's not the main event. Did I say number 4 was the Beast Clergyman? No. Once he's at 60% health, he disrobes to reveal Maliketh the Black Blade. This big bad wolf came to huff and puff and blow your health bar down. To nothing. Very quickly. Maliketh's damage output is probably the highest in the game on average, but it's not just the numbers, it's how he delivers said damage. He swings his sword, yes, but he also flips through the air, jumps on and off of pillars, fires energy waves in midair while doing more flips, using both an earthquake style AoE as well as fucking Judgment Cut, and guess what the best part of it all is? Every attack he does will not only lessen your maximum HP for a time, yes, he shrinks your HP bar, but it will also do significant damage over time. If you survive his onslaught on a sliver of health, the DOT will probably do you in right afterwards. And if you manage to survive that, he'll just follow up with another super combo. His speed is second to none. Okay, second to 1. And his damage is ludicrous. However, this is balanced, and I use that word loosely here, by his own HP, or the lack thereof. Like I said much earlier, Maliketh is a glass cannon boss. If you can somehow manage to get on the front foot against this guy, you can actually end this phase rather quickly. He can be staggered for a visceral attack, you can catch him slacking for a second at the end of his finishing moves, provided you don't die at least. Doing this is a ridiculously hard task, but it's probably the most satisfying pure combat experience in the whole game. Maliketh is demanding, he's dangerous, and he's awesome. Number 3, Godskin Duo. Oh no. Okay, I'll be frank, except I won't, because my name is Matt. I've never fought this boss straight up and won. I fought it with a friend in co-op where we didn't use any cheese, shout out to Cloyne.com, and I fought it solo while using sleep pots. Is that dishonorable? Am I a fraud? No, I just refuse to take this fight with any respect. If they didn't care enough to make a good boss, I don't care enough to try. With the exception of Spirit Ashes, every tool is fair fight for this duo whenever I have to get past them. I've tried fighting them without any sort of cheese strategy, and lost handily. Why? This fight blows. It's Godskin Apostle and Godskin Noble teaming up. That's not good. They aren't built to be a gank fight, and it's fucking obvious. Apostle is fast. Noble is faster. There's always someone on your ass, if not the pair of them. The fact that they both have quick to activate ranged attacks means that keeping your distance to establish a strategy isn't safe either. Use the pillars, you say. They destroy them in phase 2, I say. The worst part of the fight is that killing the 2 of them doesn't actually end the battle. You need to beat the boss 2.5 times. 5 enemies need to be slain to end this fight, on average anyway. That's stupid. I think that's dumb. Who designed this fight? Did they have a bad day? Because they made a bad boss. Apologies for the brief tangent into quality talking, but I'm astounded something like this was allowed to exist in a game as good as Elden Ring. But hey, at least they get a nod as the 3rd hardest boss and as the worst boss in the game. Number 2, Radagon and Elden Beast. As if I was trying to continue a theme, we find ourselves with another duo boss of sorts. Instead of a gank, this one is a back-to-back boss experience, and they couldn't be more different. Radagon is possibly the 2nd most elite humanoid warrior in the whole game. He fights with a hammer that puts Morgotts to shame, slamming it in brutal melee combinations as well as wave attacks across the ground to pressure at range. He teleports with basically no tell, though he doesn't often get cheap shots directly off of a warp unless you count his reappearance shockwave. He brings other golden magic to add pressure to you, like ranged lightning blades to give you a shocking surprise. However, there's an easy way to find your openings. Dodge properly. Every melee attack of his, if you roll to the safe spot and wait out his combo, gives you a fair window to hit him. Stay aggressive in a sense. Stick to him. Dodge through his attacks or just wait in the safe spot and make him pay at every turn. It encourages forward momentum in a great way while maintaining Radagon's aggressive difficulty. Yes, I just told you that every melee attack of his comes with a fair weakness. But you still need to dodge them first. That part isn't easy. Occasionally, the magic spam can be a bit frustrating, but that's more of a skill issue that can be solved with roll timing. So, in summary, Radagon is amazing. He's challenging, he's a real warrior that you need to match with aggressive counters to come out on top. What could possibly top that for a finale boss? Well, nothing. Because Elden Beast does not live up to that hype. This giant godlike being looks incredible, the arena is beautiful, the music is melancholic, and the lore is great. It's just a shame that the actual fight is lousy. This boss is a giant sword that has deceptive range and erratic slashes, but that's just par for the course for giant, unconventional sword wielders in FromSoft games. Nothing wrong with that at all. The wrong comes in the form of the Elden Beast's magic. Remember when I said Rennala didn't feel obnoxious despite being an Archmage keep your distance type fight? Elden Beast is like that, but the obnoxiousness is through the roof. The sheer amount of magic attacks this thing has is absurd, sometimes with 2 attacks overlapping at the same time. Delayed starry explosions, tracking magic stars, fire breath, sword waves, a deadly grab, even this admittedly cool attack invoking the power of the Elden Rings that you need to avoid via jumping. The variety is large, and Elden Beast will not hesitate to use and reuse the entire arsenal. Even worse, the boss runs away constantly. It disappears into the water at will and reappears a large distance away, meaning you now have to run over to it while dodging all the magic attacks I just listed, and when you get there, it can just choose to run away again immediately. Oh, and in case you were thinking of using the incredibly useful horse that you've had for most of the game, you can't, because that would lessen your suffering. Elden Beast is a damn long endurance battle, and seeing as you've had your resources drained by the previous fight, it's very likely that you'll end up not lasting the whole way through. Radagon and Elden Beast make it this high up the list for being a brutal back-to-back experience. You need to beat both in one go to finish the game, and there's no cheats here like there are for Godskin Duo. You have a mighty warrior that gives you an honorable fight, and a powerful god that gives you a frustrating chase, and the pair of them together are almost hard enough to claim the crown of number 1. But they don't, for a pretty obvious reason. Number 1, Melania, Blade of Miquella, and Goddess of Rot. What, did you think I was going to be quirky? That I had some out there pick to surprise you all with today? No, Melania is really hard. That's not a contentious point, we all know it. The Goddess of Rot has never known defeat, and that's for a damn good reason. Her moveset in Phase 1 is beautiful, mostly. Expert swordplay, giving you fair tells and windows to get damage on her while punishing you severely if you mess up. High damage balanced by the ability to stagger her with almost every hit. Occasional combo breaker moves that deal low damage, resulting in more of an annoyance than a proper threat. This is one of the best designed movesets in the game, hell, in the entire series. However, there are 2 slight wrinkles to this. The first, Melania heals with every strike. Yes, the boss heals every single time it hits you. That is scary, but I like this. Play aggressively to maintain control of the fight. Melania is fairly passive in Phase 1, so this mechanic feels balanced. Less balanced, on the other hand, is Waterfowl Dance. I don't use Bloodhound Step or any other established counter, so let me just say, this is one of the attacks of all time, and the hardest attack of the entire game to deal with. I'm sure every contrarian right now is saying how they dodge it every time at Rune Level 1 while fat rolling using a pizza stick for a controller, but I will not be listening. This is my difficulty experience. Trying to dodge this attack is absurd. The first few hits are a complete game of luck as to whether or not they kill me. I'm great at dodging the second volley, the third volley, and the final slash, but that damn closing speed and the damn first flurry. That is the main thing that does me in. If I can survive it, great. If I can't, well, guess it's back to the beginning for me. Once phase 1 is over, Melania falls to the ground and is apparently defeated. However, as I'm sure you can guess, we're not done here. She rises from the ground, takes flight, and embraces her inner rot goddess. She strips, for some reason, and gains wings made out of scarlet butterflies. It's one of the most awe-inspiring cutscenes in the game that filled me with intense dread the first time I got to it. And, as it turns out, that was a very appropriate feeling. The first thing Melania does is charge downwards and erupt into a scarlet bloom, filling the area around her with a scarlet rot-inducing aura. Pro tip, don't get caught in that. It comes the same way every time, and messing up that dodge timing makes me want to mistime my dodge against a bus in real life. This phase is similar to the first, just that many of Melania's combos now have scarlet rot-inducing finishes, like this little AoE slam that I love to punish. She also gains a new power in the form of the 6 clone attack before she dashes in from the distance to perform a final slash, which is easily her second most terrifying attack besides the win button, though you can avoid most of the clones just by running to one side. An unconventional form of difficulty is that the sheer number of butterflies can obstruct your vision and make it harder to tell what she's actually doing in a battle where you need absolute focus at all times. Oh, and don't worry, she keeps Waterfowl Dance. And now it gives you Scarlet Rot. Ah, good to know you're thinking of us like that, Melania. Quite frankly, she is absurd. A masterful swordswoman and collector of busted attacks, as well as a constantly active healing factor, and goddamn is she a handful. I have no hesitation in not only proclaiming Melania as the Queen of Elden Ring difficulty, but the Queen of all From Software bosses. All hail Melania, the Goddess of Waterfowl. And with that incredibly predictable ending, we're finished with the Elden Ring boss difficulty ranking. Thank you all so much for coming along this journey with me through the lands between and the bosses within. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'm very happy for all the support this series has gotten. Did you agree with my choices? What were your hardest bosses in Elden Ring? Please leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'd love to get that discussion going. If you want to see more content like this, as well as a large variety of other videos, please consider subscribing. We're currently on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and any support towards that would be greatly appreciated. I have a few more boss rankings in the works, as well as many more planned videos for the future, but external circumstances are currently making some of these videos hard to complete. If you want to know more, take a look at my community tab. I post there regularly on video status and new upload ideas. Sometimes you can even vote on what video you'd like to see me make next. So, with all that said, I think we're done here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.